The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Forge Fitness and Nutrition LLC, the podcast hosts, owners, employees, contractors, partners, or affiliates. This presentation may include the use of explicit language. Listener or viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Forge Podcast, the show that dives into fitness, nutrition, habit change, and cultural chaos around wellness. I'm your host, Michael S. Parker, a wellness professional with over 2 decades of experience. I'm also the author of the 90-Day Habit Transformation, and I'm the founder of Forge Fitness and Nutrition Coaching. Joining me today is renowned addiction expert, Dr. Robb Kelly. He is Meadows trained in trauma, attended Oxford University. He holds a double PhD. Dr. Robb is on a mission that I share to assist people, but his is specific, people struggling with addiction and trauma recovery. On today's episode, we're going to dive into and discuss the sad reality of growing food addiction and how to avoid or recover from this fixation. Dr. Robb, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. So if you'd be so kind, tell the audience a bit about yourself. We're going to just jump right in.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure of mine. Hey guys, my name is Dr. Robb Kelly. I specialize in addiction, alcoholism, childhood trauma, depression, anxiety. We're touching on Alzheimer's and dementia right now. We're very big into stop the medication already for many of the psych stuff that we're going through. We're loving what we do right now. We're the leading researchers and the leading company in the addiction world. By far, we have a 98% success rate, over 10,000 patients. We have 5 offices worldwide. And, you know, we do these podcasts not to sell our books or anything like that. We do the podcast because it's part of me giving back. I want to help. Like, I want to help you change people today. And if somebody calls up or texts and go, hey, you know something? I just changed my day. I listened to them 2 guys. My job's done and I'm paid in full, if that makes sense. So I hope we're going to bring some great messages today, guys. So sit down, take it easy.
As an addiction expert, you've studied so many different facets of this incredible human phenomenon. But for our audience, I think people come to us because they really want to understand how to separate the fad and the fiction and what's really appropriate and what is true living. So maybe you could explain to the audience what exactly food addiction is, and is it any different from just loving chocolate cake, or are you seeing a systematic addiction that's taking place in society?
Well, the crazy thing is with any addiction that if you go to alcohol, alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, food has 1% to do with food addiction. It's kind of all lumped in the same way, and the treatment exactly the same. Is we go back, I mean, food isn't about stuffing your face, you know, and putting weight on. It's nothing to do with that. It's all down to childhood trauma and the way the basal ganglia, which is a part of the repetition, strength, and confirms part of the brain, reacts. So when them two react together and the amygdala is joined in as well, we become addicted to something because there is a void. Now, that could be cake, food. It doesn't make any difference. So people want to always look at the substance. They always want to look at the alcohol. If we can just stop drinking, if we just stop eating, it's nothing to do with that. Stop it already. The problem is in the US of A, and I'm an American citizen. I always like to say this and go, oh, English guys bashing America. No. I'm fully for USA, 100%. Is the stuff that they put in our food doesn't help. So 90% of any food that you buy from any supermarket is plastic food. It's not real. So what seems to happen with a lot of people, especially that had food addiction, is to get other illnesses as well. And this is what happens. Everything we take into our body is not used in the form that it goes into my mouth. It has to be turned, methylated into a source that my body can use. The problem is when you saturate, you know, our food, when you spray it in cornstarch, you know, the rancid Caesar, all the crap, there's sunflower oil and all that stuff, canola oil. We can't methylate. So when we can't methylate that, there becomes a deficiency. That deficiency causes the addiction, causes the heart problems, all that stuff. And nobody is talking about it. Now, myself and Gary Brecker got into this a few years ago and tried to change the world. And I think it's changing. We're actually speaking now, me personally, to JFK about changing the whole idea of what are allowed in food, what we think is food. And to demonstrate this, I went into a supermarket live on Channel 4 here, and we're talking about health and what we buy and what we think we buy. And there was a bar there by a famous brand, I can't remember what it is. And on the front, it had 9 grams of protein, 0 fat. I'm going to buy that. I want to lose weight. So we take it off the shelf and then we spin it round. The first ingredient was canola oil. The second ingredient was sunflower oil. The third ingredient was GMO, and it just went on and on and on. You'd be better off going off McDonald's hamburger and eat that shit, I'm telling you. But we don't know, because there's no money in getting a patient well. So if they can't stick you on pharmaceuticals, they can't get sick with our food, they don't want to know us, guys. And that's why the guys that I woke up around is like you and I, who's going, this can't continue, man, are standing up and shouting for the mountains.
I have trouble wrestling with this notion that people are so oblivious because it's so painfully obvious to us. We see it. It's there. When you see seed oils, canola oil, these kinds of things as primary ingredients, there's no bioavailability and there's a toxicity association to it. I have an article that I have to do all the references because otherwise everyone's going to say, what's your source? What's your source? Because everyone's a prick now. Have you noticed that anytime there's a major world event that everybody on social media is a fucking expert on that subject?
Yeah.
Every single person, it drives me nuts. So it's kind of fortuitous that you had mentioned it. And maybe I'll send you that article and you can maybe even contribute to it because that'd be fun. We'll publish it together. Anyway, coming back to this idea that you had mentioned, I know that trauma is something that you're very focused in on. And at what point do you feel that people need to take responsibility for the trauma and fix it?
I love it. I know it's going to be a great podcast, guys, because you've asked me two questions that nobody else has asked me in all the hundreds and thousands of podcasts we've done over the years. So alcoholics are different because they have imprinted cells before birth, the fetus that carries on. So alcoholics are born, other addicts are made. So everybody has childhood trauma. And here's where we're going to get, well, I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, Google me. There's only one person here writing for Harvard. Everybody has childhood trauma, whatever that is. And as we go through our life, it starts to show. So how do you know someone's got trauma from childhood? Are they in the place they want to be? No. Do they have the job they want? No. Do they hold a relationship? No. Can any food? No. It's all the same thing, passed on and passed on. Now, we always say, it's not your fault you got molested or hurt but that's not your fault. But what is your fault is not treating that. There's 100% success rate that you can have if you stop listening to the noise and find out exactly what you're suffering from. There's the problem. It's like a guy gets depressed. He goes to, hey, wifey, I'm depressed. Go to the doctor. Oh, okay. Goes to the doctor. Halfway through your name and address and all that, I've got depression. He's writing you a script for a depressed med. Okay. First of all, he doesn't ask what my diet is like, what my work environment, what my family is like, and how many times a week I exercise. He doesn't ask that. He just writes this fucking prescription. Now, we look in the medical dictionary in the USA, and depression is lack of serotonin. That's it. Why isn't anybody asking before we go to the doctor why my serotonin is low in the first place? And the reason why I tell you that is to tell you this. It's your deal. As soon as you understand childhood trauma, 16, 17, 18, 20, 30, whatever it is, it's your responsibility. It's not about you. It's about the people around us. That's what life's about. To make sure that you treat that with the right person that knows the neuroscience today to fix all that. We can cure any addiction, because it's not this, it's this. And that sticks. So, parents always come, he's got trauma. Well, he probably has. Stop denying. People, I've got trauma from young, I was bullied. Yeah, so was everybody. So nobody validates him being bullied. So when he doesn't get validated or approval that happened, especially with the molestation, then we go through our life believing that it's my fault. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm not going to say anything. And that suffers through adult life as all these things that are going wrong for you. So again, as young as you can, find somebody who can explain this to you. If you go to a therapist, and there's a few idiots out there, and you go, oh, well, we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do this. And then we'll talk about how you're feeling, and then we'll manage your food intake. And go to somebody who knows what they're talking about with the new neuroscience today, and has at least 20 or 30 years in the industry and has gone through what you're suffering.
Do you think it's necessary for somebody to be able to mentor, treat, or guide folks through these traumas to have experienced them themselves, or do you feel that there are people who are capable of at least empathizing and being able to support and guide through, or is it all or nothing?
We're talking about addiction, so it's psych. So it's all psych. That's what it is. Any other industry, any illnesses, any whatever it is, you don't need to experience that. You go to college, you learn how to treat heart disease, and all of a sudden you're a nurse that specialized heart disease. Brilliant. You can't do that with addiction. You have to have gone through it, because what happens to the brain is phenomenal. And the action that we take based on that subconscious thought pattern at the time is devastating. And people don't understand that. So, 12-step rooms are never going to keep you sober. 20 therapists a month. If you're seeing your therapist in another 3 months, the fuck are you doing? It's done, dusted. It's 90 days, chemicals balanced, everything's changed, rewired, and out you go. But in America, we get this always need medication, always see it, that everyone sees the therapist. Why? We got some girl in the other day. She come in for alcoholism. Dr. Robb, I need to tell you before we start, I also have depression. I said, well, first of all, no shit, okay? You take medication for that? Oh, yeah, I take blah, blah for it. How long have you been on it? About 5 years now. When the fuck did you think it was going to kick in? Because it hasn't kicked in yet. And that's the mindset that we get with people, the general public.
That is so frustrating to me. Obviously, my practice is in fitness, nutrition, and habit transformation. But we deal with the same thing, is that people are coming in medicated. They also have a social media education and they're adversarial. You had mentioned something that I just want to come back around to, something, the way that the brain is affected and addiction. But just to kind of pin something about food addiction, is it the same neurological pathways, drugs and alcohol? Because you alluded to that earlier, but could you expound on that?
Alcoholism is completely separate, and everyone wants to bung them together.
Because it's cellular imprint.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So we go back to printed cells, and we can trace alcoholism. We're born with an allergy, with certain parts, 3 parts of the brain that differ to any other addiction. So let's push that aside for a second. Yeah, it's basically the same. To be honest, it's basically the trauma which causes a deficit. But, the lifestyle, I leave the house, what my parents have been giving me. I leave my first apartment, I'm cooking the same stuff as they did. Of course you will. The traits of being bullied or psychologically bullied, you're going to attract that guy that ends up bullying you and drinking too much and beating you. It's the way the mind controls the brain. So our mirroring part of the brain will attract what we think we are worth. And the subconscious brain is saying, I'm only worth this guy. I'm not going to go for that guy. And then what happens, we see over years, is if they attract a nice guy and looks after him, she will self-sabotage that to make sure that because she don't think she's there. And it's the same thing with all addictions. It's a punishment. It's like when people cut themselves. I don't understand why they cut themselves. It must be painful. No. As far as they're concerned, they're letting the pain out. It's got nothing to do with this. It's got everything to do with this, and that's the only way they can cope with that. So the coping mechanism and the coping, the way that people actually get through this is the same old thing. It's a cycle of here to here. And there are basic traits along. There are differences, obviously, but there are basic traits with all addictions that look and you act and you think exactly the same.
That is very disturbing, I think, for a lot of people to realize that a food addiction has the same neurological pathway as other addictions, aside from the imprinted cells. Because I think that what that does is it reinforces a sense of hopelessness in people, and that's where they stop. They don't continue to find solutions. And it seems to me that one of the most damaging aspects of social media is the ability to intensify one's own trauma into an echo chamber, have those feelings reinforced where they literally become almost part of your personality. Your identity becomes your problems, and that doesn't help anyone. Nobody benefits from that. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Well, I have 4 businesses. One of them's a British restaurant, obviously British food. And you get one comment and everybody else will follow that comment that's bad. Oh, this tasted horrible. English food. And you've got like 20 people. And the guy that did it in the first place now calls himself an influencer. Because he's going these days than say horrible than it is to say nice things. It's just the way it is right now. It's crazy the way we've gone since cell phones and iPads were created. It's jumping on this bandwagon all of the time. And we're sitting more in a comfort zone, which is really hiding behind your illness. So you don't want to get well, so you can share it with the world. Never feel sorry for you. It's their way of grabbing attention. They never got it when they're growing up. So this is the way of grabbing attention. And we often see, it's a bit like Munchausen's disease by proxy. It's a little bit like that. Whereas I tell you all about problems, I'm not seeking help, but I want to tell you about, so you can identify and sit with me in this problem. And then it's sort of tenfold. And all of a sudden you've got 90,000 people following you in the mindset that you've created in yourself, but you want to put out there as being normal. It isn't normal. Mm-hmm. No person should be suffering from addiction of any kind today. Nobody. So you need to get your ass up off the sofa, man. And you need to start finding out about what's this. You need to start getting well, because there's a big world out there that's fucking waiting for you to get your shit together.
But everybody wants to be the main character, but nobody wants to put in the work to actually earn it. It's this insane entitlement that I just see permeating through social media. I would say the last year I've gotten more involved in the social media realm, looking at what people are saying, because I'm having to contend with it on the back end in my practice with coaching. And all my coaches tell me the same thing. We suffer through the same problems. One of the things that has been coming up more and more and more is the social media reinforcement of trauma. And that's the thing, doctor, is that word meant something at some point. It seems to have lost its meaning because everybody fucking uses that word. You get just one mild inconvenience in your life, and that's trauma. And I disagree. I think that trauma is something that is potentially life altering, but I also have the belief that trauma could be the catalyst for systemic change in your behavior, and you can utilize the energy of that trauma to do good.
Yeah.
But I think that most people, what they want to do is they want to wallow because they're enabled by, like you said, 1,000 people are saying, yeah, life is shit. Everything you're saying is true. And they just reinforce that. And then you get the likes, you get the attention. So do you think that an addiction that becomes public, do you think that social media helps reinforce that addiction to some degree?
100%. And you're swapping addictions as well. Then you get these guys who are talking shit and just making shit up for the sake of it, want to argue with me over something that I'm a genius in, for better words. But yeah, it's crazy. And it becomes their way of life. And then you don't get a job, you don't socialize, you don't date anymore, because your life becomes, when you switch on the computer, you're going to get all this attention, you feel valid or validated, you feel approved by people sharing your sickness and illness. It's out of control. You know, there's got to be a time somewhere where one of them people go, you know something, there's a better life out there. And that's why we keep doing these podcasts. It's like, if you stumble upon a podcast like this, a quality podcast we're doing now, it's like, it's going to change your mind about how you think. You see, if you're on 40 grand a year and you want to earn 80 grand a year, you've got to hang around the guys that earn 80 grand a year. If you hang around with 9 depressed people, you will become the 10. It's our traits. It's our, like monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. My professor from our behavioral science thing sent me to the zoo for a year watching the chimpanzees, and I hated that guy for that. But when you look and say, you can tell somebody picking a trait up just from the face. You can see him getting excited about an illness, or like you could put the TV on, there's a new illness that I've never heard of every week with a drug that solves that problem. I'm going to ask somebody something now. Have you ever been to the doctor and he's given you a medication for your ailment that's cured your ailment, so you never have to take that medication again? Yeah, I didn't think so.
You and I both know that the pharmaceutical and the new modern medical industry isn't about curing, preventing, or treating disease. It's about stringing them along without mortality so that there's a payday.
If we could turn the screen off and just listen to the side effects on these commercials, just turn it off and listen to it. I think it mentions death about 3 times. All side effects. And everyone's going, oh, look at the nice woman on there. And the guys, oh, it's so funny, they're playing basketball. What? That should be illegal in this. And hopefully JFK's we've already mentioned that banning of any pharmaceutical advertisement will be done in the next few months. But yeah, I mean, we always want to be sick. So the world has changed from what I call real men back in the day. the guys that dress properly, the workers, the guys that, build all these amazing buildings, all them guys, they seem to have disappeared. And we've come up with these new guys that are sickly, that are always did prayers, that, my ice cream fell off my cone. I got trauma from that. Stop saying that shit. That's not trauma. You want to go to war in Afghanistan like some of these soldiers, then come back to me and tell them, Trump, great, we'll fix it. But they're not going through trauma, guys. I'm sorry.
Coming back off of the trauma train, I mean, we could probably spend an hour on that, but I wanted to maybe move it into this something a little more specific. When we talk about the ultra processed foods in America, right? We'll just talk about the Western world for now. Do you feel like somebody is just addicted to a specific food? Or are the behaviors around eating more of a deeper addiction, and is the food choice just preference?
Yeah. So when we eat the food, there's so much shit in it, there's so much sugar in it, disguised in all sorts of forms, that it's kind of everything. Now, we might find something that we like a cream cake that we always eat, great. But they're dragging you in with this processed food that's getting you hooked. There's a tiny, I forget what it's called. There's a tiny little cell on the back of your tongue, and its only job is to get sugar when the brain asks for sugar. So then anything you eat, like you think it's nice, like you're in a sandwich in one of them boxes you get, if you could strip that down, don't ever go into McDonald's and ask for the ingredients on a mocha shoka or whatever it is. Don't ask, because there's like 15 spoonfuls of sugar, but it's all nicely, dressed up in certain words that you don't understand. So the addiction as a whole in America now is absolutely insane. You see, you can take the worst for food, and for me, it's McDonald's. You take their fries, okay? Then you go to England, you take their fries, and you put them next to each other. In England, there's 4 ingredients in these fries. In USA, there's 22 ingredients. Mm-hmm. What the fuck are the other ingredients in this one? Nobody's asking. Nobody cares. Fast food, $2.99, I can feed the kids. Nobody bothers. And yet the illnesses, there's more illnesses today. People are dying younger. All these things that we don't look for in the future because it doesn't matter today. It's just fast food. And guys, you've got to be so careful what you put in your mouth, because neurologically you're being damaged. Physically you're being damaged. Mentally you're being damaged. Your mind doesn't work properly. The brain doesn't program properly. And all these things age us, and all these things lead to depression and eventually death, because people are in this cycle that we can't get out of. Because it has become, like you said before, it's become the norm. And guys, fucking isn't the norm. We have a software here we call 9D, and we put it on. It's 9 subliminal messages with music and whatever. Anyway, they go through it and they take the headphones off, and every single one said, "Oh my God, I feel amazing." And I go, "No, you don't. You feel normal. This is the way you feel. This is the way we're supposed to be. Every day you get up and you're looking for that, or you can't be happy every day." Says who? Says who? You're saying who, because you're following Uncle Jimmy, who's been depressed all his life. Stop it, guys. Stop following these guys. Look after yourself. Look what's good. Do a bit of training. Drink plenty of, all start the morning with Celtic salt, water, and lemon juice. Oh, that can't be any good. Look about hydration water. Hydration water is the biggest marketing scam that the United States of America has ever come up with. So drink the stuff in the morning. It hydrates from the cell out into the body. It's remarkable. Then drink your normal water.
It's funny that you mentioned hydration. One of the very first things I do with clients in a call is I ask them, of course, about their fitness, and then we move into nutrition. In the nutrition, I always ask, how much processed food did you have, or what was the quality of your food sources, and how much water did you drink?
Yeah.
Because dehydration is a massive issue. Most clients are dehydrated. When somebody tells me, "Oh, I had 2 glasses of water," well, how many ounces was that? And they're like, "I don't know." Yeah. And they show me the glass. I'm like, that's like an 8-ounce glass. You need 120 ounces minimum right now at your height, weight. And of course, everybody cries and complains about fucking everything. Yeah. "Oh, I don't think I could drink that much water." I'm like, everything is a fight. Nobody's capable of doing anything that requires any effort, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. But the thing is you talked about homeostatic misery. People are in a state where they just believe that life sucks, and I will not subscribe to that mentality. I refuse. I believe that the pursuit of joy gives you a homeostatic baseline where other emotions are no longer so severe. You're no longer living in a state of your feelings, right? So if you're naturally joyful and somebody cuts you off in traffic, and normally people like the road rage thing. I don't understand road rage, doctor. I don't get it because I don't believe in that kind of behavior. You know, like I if I accidentally cut somebody off, I feel bad, but I'm talking about being the receiver. Like somebody cuts me off, I'm like, yeah, ass, why did you do that? But the rage, I don't feel that sensation. Here's my point. I believe that people should look to become as joyful as they can and recognize that life is a blessing and it is finite. You are going to die, and you're going to die really fucking soon. It goes by like that. Man, I'm 46 years old. I literally woke up yesterday and I thought I was 21. Yeah. You see what I mean?
100%.
It's going by. So here's my point. If you are joyful and you create a sphere of influence that cultivates the same people, like you said, if you want to make 100K, don't hang out with people who make less, right? That kind of same context. I have a very small friend circle on purpose. It's by design. I'm very jealous about where I put my time because I want to make sure that my sphere of influence is collaborated with what my intended outcome for my life is. So joyfulness, I believe, gives you a baseline where your anger, your feelings of depression, defeat, new traumas, or recollected traumas no longer have the same impact because the space at which you started is reasonable. It's not in some crazy high already. So if you're already strung out and going crazy with trauma and all the echo chambers and the social media and all the bullshit that you continuously feed yourself, when you're really upset, man, that puts people over the edge. So I contend that people should to understand that life is challenging for everybody. You have a very limited amount of time here on this planet. You have only two choices. You can choose to live in a system of progression, of improvement, constantly looking and being agile and navigating and finding ways to become a better person, or you can just completely give up and never, ever, ever find that homeostatic joy and live a miserable life and make everybody around you just as miserable as you are, because misery loves company.
100%, man. And we hang around them guys all the time. We keep that company. You know, it's called enmeshment and learned behavior by parents is the road rage things. It's only the only way of, you find most people that get angry in a car are people that are little guys or, you know, they've not been heard. So when I say little guys, man, I mean, like, you know, in the family pecking order, never been heard. Sure. It's an expression of being heard. You saw dad in it. He got mad when somebody come on, so you're going to get mad. And all it does is it raises everything inside the body and you're going to have a freaking heart attack. You know, it's time to stop, guys. Don't think it's not possible because it's 100% possible. I guarantee this shit. Coming from homelessness, grew up on the projects, chronic alcoholic, I've recovered from that shit. So when somebody comes, I'm a bit depressed. And have you got anything else? Because that's cured within 10 minutes. That's nothing. The steps you take today will improve your life. I'll give you something today, guys, before I go. 3 things to do in the morning, change your life. Why would you sit there? You think when I was homeless, I thought I was be doing this? You think I'd be the highest paid doctor in Texas? No, not really. But you keep pushing out and pushing out and pushing. What if I can do? You can do anything that you want to do. So let's forget your political views for a second. I'm not interested in politics. No one's done everything for me. A few years ago, we had a business and running the country with no political experience whatsoever. Don't dare tell me that you can't achieve your dreams because it's not true. In actual fact, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. I know as kids back home used to kick football. And, Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an attorney. What about you, Billy? I want to be a footballer. What happened to them dreams? I'll tell you. They were kicked out of us by our family and friends. Don't be stupid, Robert. You can't go to college like your brother. You're too stupid. Do you understand? Yes, Mom. True story. Yes, Mom. And we have to break away from that. What if tomorrow morning, guys, you could wake up, you know something? Fucking start my life from today. This is going to be the day. So years ago, 5-6 years ago, my parents died and we went over and we're going through all stuff. My friend's helping me and he finds this picture of me and him. And we're bodybuilders, man. Our waist is like this. Our arms, I think he had like 18-inch arm. And he said, Rob, come here. Look at that, man. And we brought, look how attractive we were. Look. Oh, my God. And he said, those were the days, Rob. And I said, well, we didn't know that at the time. So what if today's one of those days? What if in today you could make it one of those days where you can look back in 5 years' time and go, I can't believe I was there because now I've got my kids back. Now I've created an empire. Now all these things that you can do 100%. Every single neural pathway in the brain is already there for success, for health, for wealth, for living to be 100. It's already built. We just have to connect them, but we don't. Why? Trauma, disbelief. That's it. We never connect them, man. It's about connecting thought patterns to an already belief system that works. You'd be aghast, guys, what you can achieve once you get rid of all the noise and the crap and live in today. Oh, one day at a time. It's not an AA thing, guys. It goes way before that when we found out that certain parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. So tomorrow morning when you get up, do something different. Compliment somebody. Go for that job. Start that little business at the back of your shop. Get a website, business card, and put empire in your mind. Then get a checkbook, write $100,000 on it, sign to yourself, date of the year, and stick it on the bathroom mirror. And as you walk in, you look at that every day. I have not known one person that has done that and not cashed that check a year later. You can do this, man. Stop believing the hype and the false and the myths around life. It's just, why did you go to college? Amazing. What's that got to do with anything? Well, you'd have to have shit these days. Are you kidding me? You start an empire in your bedroom. Most people did it in a garage that are running the country now. So just think big, guys. Get away from that shit.
I totally agree with you. I have another question, though. Do you think that society is in a situation now where food addiction is almost inevitable between social media, the government propaganda, and the availability of just trash food everywhere you go? Are we almost in this inevitable crisis?
I think so. I think when you look at the evidence today and you look at the neuroscience behind that evidence, you find out that because everything's addicted with the sugar and everything like the point and stuff, yeah, 100%, man. I mean, look at working class people. It's always McDonald's, it's easy and quick and stuff like that. And yeah, we get addicted to that stuff without knowing you're addicted to that stuff. Everybody has an addiction. Everybody has childhood trauma. Everybody has an addiction. Now, whatever that addiction is, you need to find, but we're in patterns, remember, in our brain, working patterns. So if we like something, there's a good chance you're going to go back and back and back and back, and it expands. So yeah, without a doubt, we believe that.
Well, somebody's making money off of it. That's got to be the crux of it, right?
Do you know at one time in Texas, talk about prescription, you couldn't cash your prescription for Adderall. They'd run out. A multi-trillion-dollar industry just for Adderall had run out. You couldn't get one. So they created something that everybody wanted. They called it ADHD. Fucking false illness, that is. Actual fact, it's not a deficit. It's an overload. It's an attention overload. But I tell you what, let's give them some drugs that make them feel good. Every single school kid in the world was taking it, but the government said it was okay, and the pharmaceutical companies fucking dropped it down our throats. But they've got us either ways, the pharmaceutical companies. Can you imagine the board sat there and going, hey, listen, this heroin stuff that's on the streets, it's $1 billion industry. What can we do to get a piece of that? I mean, we're not getting a piece of that now. I'll tell you what we'll do. So we'll invent this medication, okay? It'll be like heroin, but we'll call it Suboxone. All right. Then we'll convince everybody that by coming onto Suboxone from a medical pharmaceutical, it's going to be good. And then and they sold that to the fucking world. And the brain doesn't know the difference between street drugs and pharmaceutical drugs, but they sold it. It's the same with the food industry. They're selling us a fucking lie. And I was one of those guys. Fuck me, we swallowed it. And we believed what they were telling us.
Have you seen the brain scans? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Have you seen the brain scans that they did in conjunction of somebody who had a certain dosage of cocaine to a certain dosage of high fructose corn syrup?
Yeah, we've done experiments similar to that ourselves. So every time we come across something, I go, ooh, we do our own experiment. We did it with the mice. We did all sorts of stuff. We do it to make sure that the evidence is true and that we use it on our patients because we've actually tried to test it. It's insane, isn't it?
You mentioned that you were working with RFK. Obviously, somebody's making money off this stuff. Speaking of food addictions, is there a playbook from Big Tobacco here? Is this just kind of a new shit farm?
Man, I fucking love you. You got some amazing deep questions, man. So what happened to Big Tobacco is when all the shit around cancer came out, they got scared. So obviously sales were going down. So they bought the biggest food industry company in the world. They bought that. And then what happened then is we started to get the false food. Now we're creating this, but I'll tell you what if we create it and put this in it and last longer? What did we do? And they were the guys that were blamed for that. It's insane how it's like they oiled Rockefeller. He used to spend tons and tons of hours with the locomotives up and down the country. It was brilliant business until cars came out. We didn't use as much oil and we started to decrease in sales. So what does he do? He creates a health board around him. And then he convinces the fucking world that these seed oils are good to cooking. True story. And that's how we become. They convinced us, and we bought it again. Well, we're not supposed to know. If the government said it's safe, we're going to take it. Of course we are. They fucking sold it to us again. And we're dying younger. And we're illnesses. It's just crazy. And nobody's doing anything about it until now.
I hope so, because one of the things that has always inspired me has been to be one of those 75 to 85-year-old dudes that's walking around, chest up, shoulders back, lean, and cognitively aware.
Yes.
I've seen so much decline. While I do understand that there has been a reduction of life expectancy in Americans over the last 30 years, which is odd because you think that it shouldn't, but you and I both know what that is. We know it's our food source.
Yeah.
And it's a lack of activity. I'm leaving tomorrow morning to my uncle's birthday party and his wife's 50th anniversary. I'll be in South Lake Tahoe. And my uncle is one hell of a cool guy. He's the guy who shows up to family parties in a 3-piece suit, 90 years old. He's standing upright. He walks in and he's got a martini in hand and he's talking. And now, there's some repetition that happens, right? Like he loses track of conversations, but he never forgets who I am. He never forgets my wife, Heather. He never forgets my mom or the rest of the family. He's fantastic. And he is hilarious. Talk about unfettered. This guy says exactly what he fucking thinks, man. He has no fear about a cancellation on him.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to be like my family. Now, unfortunately, my grandmother passed a little early because she had multiple myeloma. She had 2 forms of cancer, unfortunately, but she survived 10 years with that. Up until 2 or 3 months before she finally passed, she was up gardening and she's like, this damn cancer is not going to get me. But that was a mindset of a woman who was born in 1929. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always wanted that for myself. I've got acreage here and it's a pretty fair amount of land and I've a lot of stuff I want to do. And we don't have any plans necessarily of selling at this point where we're at in our lives. And I want to be able to putz around and have quality of life to the day that I die. And I just feel like most Americans and I think it's true in the Western world, people have abandoned their future for short-term gratification. Wouldn't you say that may be true?
Instant gratification is not quick enough for some people.
Not anymore.
That's the way it's turned. I've just lost 50 pounds over the last 3 years. But when I first started getting into nutrition, I dropped that straight away because I knew now I'm 64. I want to look like 44. I want to live to 104. I have no doubt about that. But there's a couple of things that we're not supposed to do as human beings. We're not meant to sit down. Number one, we're not meant to be inside. Number two, we've got to stop telling Granny to put an extra coat on in the house. You need to strip the coat and get her outside in the snow. We've stopped doing that. We think it's all sitting down and stop that shit. If it was up to me, I'd get rid of every chair in the US, every single fucking chair, And then you watch people start living longer. We're doing things we're not supposed to do, man, and we've come away from like good hard work or a nice walk in the morning with the wife and the dogs. You don't see that in Texas where I am. You see nobody walking. People stopped doing that. The only time I saw people walking was during COVID, where families were actually getting back to the old days and they were walking together. Now, there was an increase that we saw in health for a start. There was an increase in the divorces, increase in alcohol, but we also saw an increase in health as a whole. The only thing we had to watch was if you isolate somebody and take their identity off them, they go insane. So the balanced out thing there, but more fresh air, more walking about, stop sitting down everywhere you go, stand up, walk about, ground. If you're into grounding, go out and ground on grass, not concrete. All these things that we have to do every single day. And it takes 5 to 10 minutes at the most, but we'll sit in line, fucking McDonald's for 15 minutes, waiting to be served. Yeah, we can't go outside and do dumbbells, some curls or why that. We can't do that. We're not. You're stupid. You're going to die young, man. That's all I'm saying. You're going to fucking die. It's about time you woke up and realized that, something, I'm going to fucking change from today. And as soon as you hear this program, change, man. Well, I don't know how to change. I'll show you some shit before we go that you can change from tomorrow. Don't sit there.
Yeah.
You know, but in this thing, man, a girl was snatched off the side of the road in Manchester, England, 1969. Somebody saw a snatch in the van and they took a huge manhunt. Nobody could find them. 9 months later, a police car's following another car down the road, country road, back of nowhere, broken light, pulls him over and finds a stolen screwdriver in his car. He admitted it was stolen, went back to his house. Sure enough, there were lawnmowers there, there were drills, there were everything there that he'd stolen. But they also found a box there which is around 12 foot wide and about 4 foot high. And they said, we know you've got more stolen stuff in there. And he smashed the lock off, opened it, and there was the girl that went missing 9 months ago. Now, she was alive. She used to be beaten, assaulted, restroom, bath, whatever, back in every day for 9 months. Every day. And this is how we get in these patterns, guys. Every day. So when the policewoman leant over and she took the hand of this young girl and helped her step out the box, took her coat off the police coat and she wrapped it around this little girl. That's the first thing she did. She got back in the fucking box, guys. And that's where we find ourselves today. We keep getting back in the box because that comfort zone, even though it hurts us, is familiar. It's a comfort zone, familiar, and we never want to step out because we might fail. But if we succeed, I'm scared of that as well. I'm scared of what people think about me. I'm scared how people stop giving a fuck what people think about you. It's none of their business, none of your business. And you'll start to grow as a human being.
I've heard the story before of that girl in Manchester. And I know you were homeless in Manchester, as a side note. But what is interesting is she wanted back in the box.
Yeah.
Why?
Even though it hurt, there's a familiar place every night after the assault to go. It's like we see this with many, many addictions. Prisoners of war, especially Japan, you should go back into that box all of the time, and we don't forget how painful. So then we become blind to the pain and the unhealthiness and the shit we put in our body because the comfort zone saying, well, this is nice over here. I'm good. I can cope with life. We go to McDonald's 4 times. It's cheap. I'm only on a fixed income, everything. And we stick there. The fucking government and everybody else doesn't make it any easier for us until we stand up and go, I think I've had enough of this shit. I think it's time to change. And then everybody can change, guys. I don't care who you... Unless you have permanent brain damage, you can change 100%, recovered from anything that you're going through, and you can make a difference in this world. And once you start doing that, when neural pathways are changed, your mind is energy. You can't see it, touch it. It sits over the brain, inside the brain, mind, over matter. But when this piece of energy inside us connects with another energy, whatever that is, your fucking DNA changes. That's our own research. So everything's available. You stop following the sheep, get up and, move forward. Well, I get this all the time. It's okay for him saying that. Everybody's jealous about what I have, but nobody's jealous how I fucking got here. That's what it's all about.
Everybody just wants the end result. They wait at the finish line, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you use a very extreme example of what I would call a toxic trauma response to comfort. But most people don't endure that. And I found it really interesting to see how people have become so inwardly focused and that they take small instances of inconvenience and they turn it into trauma. They're not in a box 12 foot by 4 foot, right? But they pretend that they are. How do we help people get out of that mindset? I have no tolerance for it. When people who have nothing to complain about find things to complain about, it's really difficult for me. Maybe I'm getting tired. Next year, October of next year will be 25 years. Wow. 25 years I've been doing this. I can't believe that I'm that old, by the way. And I just would like to hear what your thoughts are on the oscillation from the extreme 12 foot by 4 foot box of just absolute trauma into the American who was, I don't know, the Starbucks line was 5 minutes too long today. And so now they're traumatized and they have to post on TikTok about that trauma.
I think it's so easy now to share bad news, and it is good news. That's for a start. Secondly, it's all learned behavior, and the subconscious brain running that. So they have whatever has seen that somewhere else, and we've copied that behavior. It's like if you hang around with somebody that has a stupid word like "shut up." After a couple of weeks, months, you'll be saying "shut up," even though you hate, the actual sentence. You still do it yourself. So it's the same thing. It's childhood trauma and enmeshment, learned behavior from parents or caregivers, all people around us. So we want. So once you get a bunch of people doing that, you're going to follow. Well, how do we know that as a company? Well, we did a research in our office. We invited 10 people into the office in the waiting room. We offered, as far as all of them were concerned, free treatment to one of our patients. The other 9 people were actors who we brought in, paid them to sit down, pretend they were patients, and when we called their names, come in. Apart from one thing, every 45 seconds, we pressed a buzzer. We watched them on camera. Their idea was they stood up for 5 seconds when we pressed the buzzer. This is what happened. This is how we get influenced to all this shit. A normal patient comes in, sit down. There's 9 people there that are messing around. All the 9 actors stood up. She's on her phone. She glances and she goes back to her phone. Everyone sits down. Everyone stood up. Now the phone gets put in her lap and she's looking around. The third buzzer, she stood up with everybody else, which we thought was interesting, but we wanted to push it. So we called every actor in one by one until she was only patient sat in the waiting room. She stood up. That's how the minds can be programmed, either from the good or the bad. So you have to look at your circle. I have 2 people in my circle, 3 people, sorry, in my circle. That's it. Anybody else? No, I'm sorry. You can't fit in my circle. But we do. We stay in relationships way too long. We stay in jobs way too long. It's like, why do you do it? Comfort zone. That's our little box that they keep getting back into. So it's so easy to, the ones this way, been taken to hospital, don't ask why. What the fuck are you posting that for? Why are you saying I'm there, but don't ask why? I don't get it. Well, don't fucking post. But the world is full of that, That's all it's, across Facebook. It's like, is everything okay? Oh, it's fucking hell. Man, come on, get a grip, man. But we follow them people around. I think social media is 20 millionth time worse with the social media. Whatever. It's insane. It's insane. Yeah.
I've never understood this, and this has been one of my biggest bitches about social media for years is, like you just said, it's usually hospital or like a relationship thing. They'll post something ambiguous, like, I just had the worst day of my life. Yes. This is the most traumatizing thing I've ever experienced. I can't believe that this happened. I'm reeling, or some fucking stupid phrase. And they don't tell you what it is. And the moment that people start asking, they're like, excuse me, privacy, please. It's, shut up, bitch. Shut the fuck up, Meghan Markle. It's just so obnoxious. It's bait for likes and attention. It's just for affirmation. You know what it is? It's 2 things. I think that there is a narcissism, but I will concede 1 point. I do believe people are suffering.
Yes.
I think people are hurting. I think they're lonely, lonelier than they've ever been, which is weird. Marriage rates are absolutely horrific. The divorce rates are insane. Dating is a disaster.
Yeah.
People are absolutely hurting. And I think that they are looking for some kind of affirmation. Now, the way they're going about it is retarded, and they shouldn't do it that way. But I mean, you and I could probably spend hours just talking about this one topic, but I want to bring it back around, if you would, back into the addiction world, and with a little bit more emphasis on food, because I think that people will probably really be interested to hear some of your responses to it. I got a couple questions that are percolating here. Like basically signs and symptoms of self-deception, right? Because that's what social media reinforces. When you lie to yourself, you can find people who will validate your lie for you.
Yes.
And there's nothing more powerful than that, right?
Yes.
How do you know that you're addicted?
Oh, that's great, man. It's great. If a repetitive action is happening, that's messing your life up in any kind of way, anything at all. Like, it's great going to the gym. It's great going to the gym every day. But if you're going on a big vacation with the wife and 2 kids, and the first thing you do when you land in Spain is look for the nearest gym, there's a problem. So anything that takes you away from the family as a whole, we take it back years ago. So from food to everything else, it takes us away from our family. That's an addiction. Whatever that is, then you have addiction. So repetitive behavior, most of it is harmful.
So repetitive behavior and behavior that excludes family from you.
Yeah. So with any addiction, we don't want anybody to know. So we kind of isolate a little bit. With addiction, with other stuff, we isolate a lot until we die. But yeah, we don't want to be seen. Like, we've done tests as well with this, taking girls out. Like taking girls out, we did it. We've got like 4 or 5 single guys. And they took these girls out, and we monitored them. We paid for the meal after and explained what we were doing. But every single one of them girls who was literally like, I don't know, 90 pounds, whatever it is, they looked stunning. One of them was a female bodybuilder and a fitness instructor. They looked amazing. But they asked to eat, they asked for a salad. Every single one of them had a salad. Now, further in the relationship, maybe second or third, that changes. But if they have any kind of addiction, they don't want you to know that. So I'll just have to, I used to be overweight. Overweight people do the same. You go, I just have a salad. And they're not eating salad all the time. But, I don't mean that in a bad way. I was exactly the same. I was 350 pounds, man. Come on. Shit, how did that happen? But that's what.
How did that happen? It's interesting. You had gone somewhere that I didn't expect, but I'm glad that you did, which was when you said you land in Spain for vacation and the first thing that you're doing is looking for a gym. You went the exact opposite direction that I think people thought you would, because you just pointed out that exercise and overemphasis of food management is equally damaging and addictive as the opposite.
Yes. That's
absolutely true.
Is it good or bad? You've got to decide. But if it's something like good, or you think it's good, but you keep doing repeatedly, despite anyone else around you, you're putting this thing first, with alcohol, then you have a freaking addiction, man. You got to do something about it. We were speaking to, this is perfect. So me and my daughter, who was estranged for 30 years, anyway, come back in my life. She's now my lead counselor. We're working with a patient and his daughter. So she sees her, I see him, and every week we have a family meeting. So this is what was said. So they're saying nobody takes attention, Dad doesn't hear me, and she's saying the same. And I said, 2 nights, movie nights, okay? You choose a film, Dad shows a movie, okay? Yeah, good. So she said, what about Saturday, Dad? And he says, I can't, I'm seeing my girlfriend that night. And I stopped him right there. I said, do you know what your daughter's just heard? That the girlfriend is more important than her. Well, I didn't mean it that. But that's what you say. It's not what you say, it's how they receive it. So with more childhood trauma, my sister has had eating, overweight problems all of our life. And do you know what I traced it to? When she was when she was about 3 or 4, and I was like 6 or 7. I remember my dad always used to play with us, and he got her on her back, and he used to, sort of tickle her stomach, and he called her a fat mess. Go on, you fat mess. Go on, you. Because it was joking, it was funny. Everyone's laughing. She's laughing. Go on, you fat mess. That stayed with her throughout, and she's had, with nobody else has, apart from me when I came here, no one's had eating or dieting problems before, but that stuck. And that was a self-sabotaging thought pattern. One month she's like 120 pounds, the next month she's 200 pounds. It's just crazy. But that stuff sticks. Unless it's treated, it will always stick, because the basal ganglia is the repetitive part of the brain. And if you stick a trauma in, that you don't think is a trauma, but it will always self-sabotage around that trauma. So if it's like a clock face, 12 o'clock, alcohol's easy, or food. You go on a bender, 10 after you come home, 20 after the wife lets you back in the house, 1:30, everything's going good, 22 you get that job offer, and at 10 to the hour you fuck everything up. It's the same with food, it's the same with sex, it's the same with everything. We attract what we think we are worth.
So he was rubbing her belly and telling she's a little fatty. Is that preceding a potential addiction in the future from trauma in your experience? Or could it be any kind of addiction manifest off of that trauma?
Yeah, it could be any addiction manifested off that trauma. I mean, you can never say 100% that because Dad did this is why she has it. But we have traced other acts of adults today going right back to what mother and father did at that point. So it does disillusion the brain, because the brain know the truth or the false, the brain doesn't know. Anything can be reality or not. This is how we can change our life real quick. So he's taking that as the truth, as a fat mess, that she's overweight. And that damages as you grow off that completely, off that one sentence, comes 6 or 7 or 8 other things. Now she's a bit overweight. She won't apply for that job. So now she goes home and eats more food. But when she goes out to dinner, she only eats salad. And it's all this cloak and dagger thing that we get with addiction is we don't. I used to go to a different liquor store. When I went out, I'd go to the liquor store this day, and then I'd drive 2 miles for that liquor store, then 10 miles. People say, why'd you do that? I don't want them to think I'm an alcoholic. Don't you think they fucking know when you walk in the door? Who are you kidding here? We always want to put our face on, and we start sharing your addiction, start sharing, what you're not getting out of life, because there's a reason for it, and it's 100% fixable. And you will be aghast if you realize. Like I tell my patients all the time, if we could swap places right now for like 30 seconds, all your fucking problems would be over. Because the definition of insanity is me not being able to see my own truth. So that my own truth becomes my past trauma, if that makes sense.
These deep emotions that people are feeling and the way that they're responding to them, are these the catalyst to addiction for most people, or are there people who get addicted without having trauma?
No, I believe that I believe that everybody gets trauma from that. What happens? There's no perfect child. Everybody has childhood trauma in different ways, abandonment or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that we don't notice the trauma because back in the day they normalized it. So when I was molested by my priest, I went home and told my mom, she bashed me with a wooden shoe. She sent me up to bed. Don't you ever say that again. So that becomes a working part of my brain is that we don't talk about that. It's okay. It's normal. The stuff that went through for most of the people in the past is not normal and it's not true. You know, we need to stop normalizing the trauma because we're missing everything here that's happening because you're not concentrating and clearing up this. So I 100% agree with that one.
Is there a difference in the way that addictions show up between men and women?
Where have you been all my life? These questions are absolutely outstanding. So what we've traced is, and this goes back to when I first did it 30 years ago, when I first started my research, what we found is, and we can't go into people's houses, so let's say alcohol, it's the easiest one. We found less women in bars when we first started. So you think that less women would drink. And then we got into the mums and the book club and the after school club. They all go to, they're all drinking wine and everything. But it used to be men over women, but now it's kind of women a little bit ahead of men that we can trace. Because a lot of people we work with are open with us. And then when we ask to do trials and tests with family, friends, parents surrounding that patient, then we found out all these things that are true. But you would never have thought was true because it doesn't make sense. What you're speaking about, Dr. Robb, doesn't make sense. Well, I know it fucking doesn't. Otherwise, we'd all be living to 150 years old now. But we're not. Yeah. You know, so when we try and explain this to people, when I came to, I think, I mentioned to you, when I first came to America 18 years ago, they stripped me of my license. They stripped me of my medical license. They said, you're injuring people, you're hurting people, you cannot be practicing what you practice. I lecture to those guys today. I lecture to the scientists and the doctors today. Now, I got my license back in about a year, but it took me a year because people thought you were crazy. They still think I'm crazy. But after 10,000 patients, every one of them healed, as far as we know, then there's something got to be said here. After you're working, in the industry for so long yourself, you can see that what you're doing is working, But we haven't got the money like the big pharma, to go out and blast it all over the world going, these are amazing. Because I think if they did, people would heal real quick. Because it's not rocket science what I do. It's plain neuroscience, a little bit of spirituality and common sense. But don't believe what you see.
You're still lecturing out of San Antonio, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. I want to come back to the men versus women thing. You mentioned something that kind of sparked my interest. When did the paradigm shift for that women are showing more signs of these addictions than men?
So there's a couple of things that we need to look at that might skew that up a little bit, but we believe that's true, is men in bars, women at home drinking wine. These groups, more DWIs last year with moms taking kids to school than any other time in Texas history. Yeah. So we obviously note that and look at that. And the stats show that it's about 40%, 60% for women because of the stresses. Again, they call stress, having children, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Instead of saying, I get to take the children to school, so, I've got to take the kids to school, and it's all so much and the pressure, and they go back home, and the daytime drinking sets in. That's what we've found and studied. On pre that, going back to the 20s and 30s, definitely. And alcoholics stats also say that. Back in the day, it was mostly men. But now the shift changed around the year 2000 for me with my research. Around 2000, 2005 is when we saw that shift of the new mom coming along.
I had done some research on this topic, and I had discovered that it was nearly at the turn of the millennium. And I do say that with a lot of the people that I work with, that alcohol is something that has to be managed in the dietary protocols.
Yes.
It's something that they ask for. They're like, well, can I still have my red wine at night?
Yes.
And I'm like, not 7 days a week. You gotta pull it back somewhere. So, okay, I'm sure that a lot of people have deep and reasonable trauma. And I think that everybody wants to escalate themselves to some degree. And I have a really hard time empathizing with the overemphasis of making traumas your personality. I don't think that that's necessarily constructive for anybody, not yourself and nobody around you, because it starts to get really, really boring to hear people constantly bitching all the fucking time. And that's why I just really struggle with social media. It's just constant complaints. And I just like, man, why can't we just be well? For all of those folks out there that are struggling with some form of addiction, let's say it's food-based or it's alcohol or it's whatever, it could, like you even brought up, I know sex addiction is a problem. But here's the thing. For everybody who's out there who's either listening and saying, gosh, I'm really showing some of those traits. There are some areas in my life that have been traumatizing, or at least an event that I recall that is not looked back on favorably. And I feel like I'm being spoken to. What is the first step? How do they claw back to recovery?
The first thing that I tell everyone to do in this situation is dialogue. Start dialogue with somebody you trust. When you keep it to ourselves, it becomes a secret. Secrets hurt us, secrets kill us. So you need to share it with somebody, a close friend, and tell them what you're going through. Because what that happens, if they're a true friend, is they'll start holding you accountable for them actions. And then you can go on and seek help in any way you wish. But if you want to change, if you want to get better, if you want to get through it, talk to somebody that you trust and get a second opinion. Because remember, the insanity of every single addiction out there is me not being able to see my own truth. Well, one of your best friends around you or somebody who mixes with you daily can see that truth. But they're never going to tell you until you trust them with the dialogue. That's the very first thing you do. And secondly, just to let everybody know, I can rewire a brain in 4 sessions. So it's not a long time. I've got to do something. No. I'm going to change pathways before we leave. I'm going to give you 3 things to do that'll change your pathways tomorrow and ignite you ready to go out the door, ready for anything that happens on the Saturday. I guarantee you that.
I don't think people really appreciate how hard they make their own lives.
I'm going to come and live with you. I swear to God, you are so tuned to this shit. I mean, it's like speaking to, I don't know, it's like meeting a doctor or a mechanic or a man, and you get this shit. And you ask the questions that nobody else is asking. It fucking blows my mind, man.
That's what I do, is I listen to people's problems all day long. Now, I'm not sitting there and enabling clients. What they get from me is solutions.
Yes.
Or at least I'll try and work it out with them. If it's within my scope, I'm like, okay, we're going to solve this problem today. We're going to do this right now. And like what you said, in 3 sessions or X amount of sessions, it doesn't take hours, doesn't take years. It just takes a couple of things. And I tell people all the time, stop making this so fucking hard on yourself.
Yes.
Why do you insist on being in a state of suffering? You don't have to be. You can literally stop right now. And they're like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's like toddler temper tantrums that I deal with all day long. But when it comes to coaching and altering mindset, that's simple, man. It's not that fucking hard. And people just want to live in misery. When we're talking about addiction, Dr. Robb, I got to ask you this. All fitness and nutrition people want to know this. If you have struggled with some form of eating disorder, so we'll call it an addiction, okay?
Yeah.
And they are having a cheat meal or they're going to have a moderate trigger food session. Is that going to potentially be a detractor long term? Or is abstinence the only way to curb a relapse?
Well, with alcohol, abstinence only. I mean, non-alcoholic beer, bullshit. It's not the alcohol. It's the behavior around it. It's kind of the same thing with a cheat meal. Why are you cheating? Because I miss. Why do you miss? Why haven't you got a diet that you are full and happy with? Why do you keep going back to the junk food? What is a cheat day? You're messing your health up. You're messing your mind up. The brain is fucked up by all the shit and chemicals that we're eating. Why would you want that? I've not seen an instinct where addiction has taken over from a cheat day, I must admit. But you do it enough times every week, and over the months and years, the brain's going to think, there we go, this is more comfortable than and then that over there, the eating clean, it comes, fuck, I got to go to the gym. No, you get to go to the gym. I got to take you get to take the kids to school. You must be eating clean. If you want to live a long life, you need a couple of things. You need water, you need oxygen, you need to eat clean. Better.
Yeah.
Wow, that was easy. It's not fucking rocket science, guys, but we don't want to do it.
It's simple. It's just not easy. And then people feign ignorance. But I wanted to mention something. You had said when I'd asked about what's the first step, and you had mentioned the role of community and support. And I think that that's really important for people to understand, that it is reasonable and advised that if you are struggling with something that has gotten out of your control, to hire a professional. It's reasonable. See, people are fine doing this when they have a legal problem. They'll get on a phone with a lawyer. They don't even think twice. If they have a tax problem, they got a CPA lined up. Yeah. But the moment that they have a problem that they think that they should or could solve on their own, like gaining a little extra body fat or drinking a little too much on the weekends, it turns into something on the weekdays. They're like, I got this. And they don't see the value in the professional. Yeah. And I just want to remind people that you have resources, and it is not an expense that should be disallowed in your life. They're out Starbucks, $5 a day. And that is enough to cover kinds of support structures in a professional environment that would help change your fucking life. Yeah. But my question to you is, why do people choose spending $5 a day on Starbucks versus spending, $5 a day, or let's just say it's $150 to $300 a month on actually saving their own lives? Why do people not make that choice?
Well, a lot of it comes down to instant gratification. We live in a world of instant gratification. You get a coffee now, you won't wait for coffee, you won't wait in line for anything. I'll join a gym, it's going to take months, so that wears off after a bit because there's no instant gratification. It's like, that's what people do. They pull back and they go, it's just not working, I can't be bothered. And instead of getting up every morning and setting a routine, we ask our patients to do 5 things every morning. Write down 5 things. I don't care if you do 100 things that day, the 5 things will start the pattern in your brain. So lunch, dinner, walk, whatever it is, put the 5 things down. And every single day do that. And slowly but surely you create a new pattern, like in a day or 2, that's all. And you'll be able to see the old pattern. And the more, it's like 2 roads, 2 freeways that split. We are born with the chance of trying to go down the negative way all the time. So we're always doing, when we find something new, we start this, 9 out of 10 times you're going to still do that. Okay, that's my cheat day, whatever. What if we could program this pathway to be the knee-jerk reaction every time, so that this freeway gets bricks and moss on it and you can't travel down it? Well, that's exactly what we do. But it's the repetition things. We don't think we are worthy of being like that. So I met Arnold Schwarzenegger when he came over to England many years ago after Pumping Iron just came out, and I got to sit with him. We picked him up from the airport and sat with him as a bodybuilder then. And this emphasizes my mindset that I'm always talking about, and broken English. And I said to him, Arnold, this is so amazing and stuff, but what are you going to do after the bodybuilding and stuff? And he looked me in the eye and he says, I'm going to do 3 things. And we said, okay, really excited. What's the first one? I'm going to be the highest paid movie star in the world. Well, we fell off the chair. It's like, you kind of speak English. No. Second, I'm going to be governor of a state, preferably California. That's impossible, Arnold. You come from nothing. What's the third? I'm going to marry into the Kennedy family. Check, and fucking check. So once you start programming that change inside your head and believing that it's going to happen, and then believe is the big one, it's already happened, then the brain adapts to that. When people come here, we don't help people build businesses, we help people build fucking empires. So when we bring them in here and we're getting the mind used to it, and I take them to the Porsche dealerships and we ride in that 200 grand Porsche. Then we go to the $2 million houses and we walk around there and pretend we own it. What happens to the brain is priming that brain for when it happens. Because here's what human beings do. We get to that level, we can afford the house, then we self-sabotage it. Or we get in, oh my God, I shouldn't really be here. What happens when we do this technique is when you do get there, because you fucking well, the brain goes, this is, I remember this place. This is a comfortable place. And you don't back off. It's part of reassuring the brain that anything's possible. It's the same thing with the gyms. If you go to a gym on your own every day, there's very little chance of you continuing with that. If you get a gym partner or a training partner, you go every day, now you're accountable. It's the same thing with dialogue around you. I don't want to go most days, but my training partner's there waiting for me. And if I don't go, he will literally get in the car, come to my door, bang on that fucking door until I open it. He'll take me by my hand, he'll put me in the car, and he'll take me training. I need that shit. I really need it, the accountability. And I think a lot of people do. You can't do this shit on your own, guys. You can't change on your own. It only lasts a short time. What's that about gymnastics? Go up by 80% in January and then right back down again to normal. It's like, we all want to stay. No, it doesn't work like that, guys.
Yeah, by March.
On Monday. Why not start it now?
That is a phrase that I use all the time. Don't wait till Monday. Do it now. I want to mention something you had just talked about, visualization projection, looking into the future about what you want for yourself. And one of the biggest issues that I see people doing is they use buzzwords like, I'm manifesting. You're not doing shit. You're daydreaming. See, that's the difference. Yes. People don't understand the difference between daydreaming and actually building a series of activities that could lead to that outcome. You said this perfectly. You go into a multi-million-dollar home or you ride in a $200,000 Porsche. Your brain starts thinking, how can I get here? It's really interesting to me how people misuse terms and they don't put the teeth of what the term means into their life. They just fucking use the term. So I want to segue on that. Mental health. It's a huge buzzword right now. In fact, I'm going to tell you my opinion. It's an obnoxious buzzword. But despite its hyperutilization, I do know that there is a mental well-being aspect to life. And I know that addiction has some role in that as well. So what kind of a toll does addiction play on mental health? But after that, what role does recovery play on mental health? And can you explain the value association between the depths of despair and the high of the recovery and the sustainability of it?
So when we look at the percentage of what the actual thing is over the illness, we call it mental wealth because we know you can recover and become amazing. It's 1%. Everything's 1% around that we're doing and we think we're addicted to. And it's not true. It's really not true. So the belief that you can do something, the belief that you can carry on and achieve something is not only important, but it has to be embedded. So the basal ganglia picks a thought pattern up, okay? It has to go down round so many times before it becomes a working part of the brain. And people don't do this enough, so it won't become a working part of the brain. So at 1%, when you start on your journey, once we start to build on that, you'll get over that midway of 52, 53, 54%, and it becomes a reality. But the words around that, the buzzwords, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Well, let me tell you about my mental health day. I'm having a mental health day. Says fucking who? You go to calling work? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means you're fucking lazy. That's what it means. Once you get on this side of the brain and not that side of the brain, the self-sabotage, everything is amazing every single day. Every single day you're going to get up and you're going to go out and give it your best. We don't have bad days. I don't have bad days. I have better days than others, but I don't have bad days. So by moving through the subconscious into the conscious on a daily basis, because 3 parts reset every 24 hours, we start to build that percentage higher and higher if we do it. The basal ganglia, again, it's like driving a car. It's hard to begin and then we do it. It's easy. And it's the same thing with any kind of progress, any kind of addiction that you're pulling away from, any kind of self-worth. I get people all the time calling me up. So I'm really excited, man. I'm going to start a practice. I go, oh, awesome, man. How much should I charge an hour? I don't know. How much do you charge an hour? So you don't know your fucking worth, but you're putting your outside there on an hourly rate with somebody? I don't know. If you don't know your worth, why are you doing this? Because it's going to fail. Just like, I love what you said, time is precious, People freak out when I tell them that hourly rate. They freak out when I tell them the monthly rates are coming. They freak the fuck out. But it's a reality. It's 100%. You know what's going on. So I think a lot of it is going back to the understanding of what you're going through. Most people don't know what they're going through. Well, I got depression. What does that mean? Oh, it means I'm sad. Why are you sad? But why? Stop running with it. I'm having a mental. Why? Well, because yesterday, I always ask somebody this. Was it a bad day? Or was it 5 minutes you strung out all day? Because it's usually the 5 minutes you strung out all day. So we need to come away from that victim mentality. Enough of the fucking box already. People are sick of that shit. If nobody wants to hear that shit anymore. You have the opportunity to fix all of this. Fix it. Don't sit there and wallow in your shit saying you can't do it. It's just not true. It's just not true. So we have to move forward.
Well, that's the thing, too, is this victim mentality is absolutely rooted so deeply in Western civilization. And I look around and I'm like, we have air conditioning, we have hot showers, We have instant gratification for anything you can imagine. You can literally get a steak delivered to your door within 45 minutes through some of these apps.
Yeah.
Like from a Michelin star restaurant, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And but oh, we're so sad. Boo hoo hoo. Life is so fucking hard. Everything's so tough. And I'm over here saying it could get a lot harder. You know how? You ever seen that show? It's called Alone. I think it was originally on the History Channel. It's where these 10 participants are put out in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing. They get 10 items that they can choose that they take. You want to know what you learn from that show? I'm just going to list a couple of things. One is that life is way harder than you ever fucking thought it possibly could be. Second, you don't know what hunger is. You have no idea. Your little tummy rumbled a little bit and you went to McDonald's. Try going 2 weeks without food. Third, you don't know what it's like to be truly and utterly cold, like to the bone, where you can barely move. You don't know what it's like to have all of a sudden all these social or moral facades that the society places up. Like, okay, say for example, sorry vegans, I'm gonna pick on you. You go out in the middle of nowhere with nothing but 10 items, and you're a vegan. You're not going to be vegan for long.
No.
I goddamn guarantee you're going to be eating squirrels raw.
Yeah.
People have no idea what it's like. See, here's the thing, Dr. Robb, I believe that in the Western world, that we have convoluted mild discomfort with trauma.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And I'm not too sure where that went wrong and we crossed over that line, but that's so freaking true, of course. Everything's, you see, we trace this back to childhood where there's trauma in the house all the time. So a person coming out of that who socializes, you always get that one person in the office that causes all the drama. She's a drama queen. It's because if she doesn't cause the trauma, then it feels uncomfortable. So when she causes the trauma, she feels not only loved, but she feels wanted as a part of this trauma that she caused. And it's just a generational thing as we go. But yeah, everything, it's a buzzword. You know, since the internet came out and you have all these fucking posh women going around and pretending that everything's a fucking drama and everything's over the top. And it's just like, you have fucking no idea. Like you said, stick them in the desert somewhere or stick them in the cold place somewhere. You don't have fucking problems today, guys. You really don't. You have a toothache, you get taken out. You have a stomach ache, eat fucking food. It's all there for the taking, but yeah, we still want to cause this shit that doesn't exist.
And I have another problem too that I just want to make sure that the listeners or the viewers who are partaking in this journey with us today in this conversation understand that I'm talking in generalizations here. We're talking about the average Western worlder, right? We're not talking about the 1% of 1% here. When you're upset because your latte wasn't done correctly, isn't trauma.
Yeah.
But people pretend that it is. My point, and I want to make this very clear, we live in a society of instant gratification, enablement, entitlement, and a degree of comfort in which we have never experienced as a species on this planet, as far as we can tell, unless the series Stargate SG-1 and the movie that preceded it is really true, and there's buried civilizations and worlds that we don't even know about. It's just an insane level of narcissism where people believe that living in modern America, modern UK, modern Australia is somehow oppressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
These people have no idea what pain really is. But you know what? Since I just broached that topic, I want to make one quick comment. I don't believe that the circumstances of life are inconsequential. What I do believe is this: you got a choice.
Yeah.
You had mentioned somewhere around 16, 17, 18. People have a reckoning.
Yeah.
I had my reckoning. And I decided that I could either allow the circumstances of my life to control my behavior and how I was going to construct and architect my life in a negative, destructive way, because that's where it came from.
Yes.
Or I could re-architect what the trajectory of it would be. So I will no longer allow the circumstances of my life to control me. I will control how I respond to the circumstances of my life, things that I don't fucking control.
Yeah.
But I definitely am going to be a lot more studious and diligent about guarding myself, managing, taking that energy, right? Because it's energy. Yeah. You can't be created or destroyed. I got to do something with it. And I make the decision to deflect it towards a positive, proactive outcome instead of a wallowing in trauma, identification and knowledge of the trauma. I'm not saying that you disallow trauma. I'm saying that I'm going to take the energy of the trauma because it's there. There's something there.
Yeah.
But I am not going to allow that to cause me to spiral into something that's destructive. I really do believe that we have the power. We're all personally, internally empowered. And I also would suggest that we don't get empowerment externally. I think it all comes internally.
Yeah.
And I choose to move it towards the positive outcomes. And people don't want to do it. You want to know why? My guess is, and you may have a clinical response to this, but I'll give you my anecdotal, because it's not sexy. It's not glamorous. It doesn't get likes and attention. It doesn't get clout in the modern world. The worst part about it is it requires effort.
Yes.
The high road. Anything that's hard, people are just like, oh, it's so hard. You know what? I feel like Americans particularly just should carry around a fainting couch everywhere they go. They're so pearl clutching and outraged by everything. They put the flags in their bio. You know, they've got like all the hashtags about the new modern thing that everybody's supposed to be upset about that's going around the world. Americans don't fucking care, Dr. Robb. They don't care. But you know what they do? They're going to moralize it. They're going to signal that virtue so hard, and they're not going to do shit to change it.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to do shit to change their lives. They're going to wallow in self-pity, and they're going to, what's that, self-grandizement? Americans are just like, I'm the best, I'm so amazing, but I'm also morbidly obese.
Yes. I love that, man. I don't know what, you might know what movie it's from, but somebody, it was lecturing somewhere and somebody says America's the greatest country in the world. And he said, and he mentioned all these things about why we're not, like the 25th in education. Fucking great piece, because it's so true. Everyone, my past does not define me. It actually becomes a great asset for me. So I don't look at it. What's it like? Your kids taking over your homelessness, your dad, what was that like? You know what I answered today? It was like a semester at Harvard University. That's what it was. Because I had to go through this to teach this. And I was always meant to go through this to teach this. But most people don't want to help the other human being. 25% of our work is pro bono. Boom. No veteran who ever comes here ever pays. In fact, we give them money to come here. We give $150,000 back, me and my wife, into people that want to better their lives every year, cash into the community. But nobody wants to do that. You know, they always want to wallow in that shit because it's easier. Like you said, they don't want to do the work around it. It's just define what your past is, put it in a box and get rid of it if you need to. But you can use that, not as tragedy, but help somebody that's going through that. And everything around you guys is already here. Quantum physics backs me up here. Everything you want in life is already here. It's around you. You just can't fucking see it because of all this shit that's blocking you out. The jealousy, the latest moan, you know, this is terrible, this is trauma, all that shit. You're not getting nothing. You're going to live in that world for the rest of your life. And you know what? All your friends are going to die. You've got no one to fucking speak to. And then you go, well, I've got 5,000 friends. No, dear, you're fucking plugged into the wall. There's a huge difference in that.
Yeah. Followers are not friends, folks.
No.
They're not.
Yeah.
You know, I think this has been a very constructive conversation because what it does, it's illuminated the reality of trauma, the real trauma, not manufactured trauma, and how it can definitely lead to addictions. It can lead to self-destructive behavior. But here's the thing. And I think that you and I both want to make sure that everybody knows that there's hope. You can fix it. You can change your life.
It's a joke when people say, I can't change my life. It's a joke because you can. It's 100%, unless you've got brain damage. And even if you're in a wheelchair, you change your life. Of course you can. You know, everything around us, put your perspective on it. See, nobody can say anything to you that hurts you without your perspective on that sentence that they just said. So why do we get fucking bothered? I'm 64. I'm as rich as fuck. I don't give a fuck about anybody today. I don't care if you don't like me. Do you think you're going to upset me? And it's such a great, empowering place to be for my soul. I don't care, because we do when somebody said something, it's, oh, you know, I don't give a shit. So that's why I come on these podcasts and I go speaking and, you know, oh, God, here's Dr. Robb, be careful what he says. I don't give a shit. And I tell that to my patients, you know, well, listen, I don't give a shit whether you come on board or not. I really don't care. But if you do, you're my problem. If you're not, you think I'm going to worry about $100,000 a month that I'm still going to fucking eat. That's not, you know, stop that shit already. Are you going to do it or you're not? You know, and I think if more people treat like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. If I'm not, I'm not. So what did we do on that? Well, we created I wanted a time frame around that psychologically where we take it in and it becomes an idea to the prefrontal cortex. So we did our testing, and this is what we found out. If I'm sat on the couch tonight and I've got a big bag of crisps, but I don't eat chips, and can of Coke, which I don't drink, and I'm sat on the sofa with the dogs and the wife, and I see Arnold Schwarzenegger on the movie, and I go, hey, do you know something? I'm going to the gym tomorrow. I ain't going to the gym. She knows it. I know it. The dogs know it. Even the cat's walking past going, I don't think so, Rob. But 7.3 seconds. If I get up, walk into the bedroom, get the sneakers and the top and the shorts and put it near the door, I'm going to do it. So if you want to do something, that choice we talk about before is a bit like this. There's a V in the road of good or don't want to do it, good or lazy. Believe that V of that thought pattern you just said is the time frame of 7.3 seconds. If you don't decide in that time, something bad will decide for you, like the subconscious brain. So that's how we keep moving forward. You get ideas every single day, but you don't take any notice of them. Wouldn't it be great if we could do this? Why haven't you done it? Wouldn't it be great? Why haven't you done it? Well, that'd be stupid. Why is it stupid, man? You know, we worked with a guy that was down, out, done. Everybody had left him. His business had failed, So we got him in the office. Every day he comes, 90 days, 90 hours, he puts in. And I said to him one day, what do you do for a hobby? And I don't want to tell you, it's stupid. I said, just tell me what you do for a hobby. I don't care. I knit socks. I go, well, that's cool. What for? He said, well, your birthdays and Christmas. I said, you knit socks? How cool is that? Here's the deal. We're going to get you a website. We're going to build you a website for you. We're going to get you a domain name, business cards. And your deal is to sell one pair of socks next month. Are you in? He's like, yeah, I think I could do that. That was many years ago. Today, he owns the biggest sock company in the world. Everything's possible. Don't stop thinking. Stop putting the brakes on your imagination, guys. God, universe, Uncle Jim has put you on there for a reason. Find your niche. Don't tell what anybody thinks about it, and do it to the best of your ability. Do you know what it says on my back of my business cards? The best addictionologist in the world. In the fucking world. Well, prove me wrong. Can't prove me wrong. You know, I say to patients, well, I don't think I can do it. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to court tomorrow, okay? And we'll stand in front of a judge. And you can bring all the evidence that you can't do it. And I'll bring all the evidence that you can do it. And do you know what the judge's going to do? He's going to throw you out of court for wasting his fucking time. That's what he's going to do. There's no evidence that you can't do something you want to do. There's no evidence. Doesn't matter your past. There's no evidence today that you can't do it. So stop saying can't. What we're going to do to change can't? It's easy. It's fucking T. CAN''T. Take the fucking T out. Take a T. I have to have a t-shirt with that on.
I wish that people would start to look at their lives more seriously. Yeah. Like, really, stop moralizing things you don't control. You know what you do control? What you put in your face, what you're eating, if you're going to the gym, if you're being respectful and courteous to your neighbors, who you probably don't even fucking know, by the way. Why can't we just bring it back down? And if we're going to be self-centered, why don't we make that self-centeredness inclusive to your home, to your next door neighbors, to your local community? And then, you know, that's where people thrive. And I'm going to bring it down to familiar community. They're not going to put up with your bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
But what happens now is you have the 5,000 followers, like you just said. Those aren't 5,000 friends. Those are 5,000 people who are just agreeing with you until you say something they don't agree with, and that's when you lose followers.
Yes.
So what if you were to just bring it down into the microcosm of your real world, which is the people that actually give a shit? And those are the people who are going to support, and they're going to give you that pillar, the foundation where you can launch off of. How do we fix that?
Realize who you are, find your identity, clear that shit up, and realize that nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to save you, man. No. Nobody's going to knock at the door, give you that $1 million job, or that girl, or that guy, that house. Nobody's fucking coming, guys. So stand up, take a good look at yourself, and pull away from the fucking herd. And I'm telling you now, you'll be a huge success, whatever that looks like for you. The biggest success I've had is not earning tens of millions of dollars. It's not. It's getting my child back. It's getting my daughter back in my life 4 years ago, and her introducing me to my granddaughter, 3-month-old granddaughter. That's the most expensive thing I've ever done in my life. Things change as you go along, but everyone can do it. Why don't you just push it? Why don't you just try it for like a week or a month? Just fucking try pushing that envelope all the time. You know, do things you're not supposed to do, man. That's the thing I like about recovery. I do things I'm not supposed to do. You're not supposed to speak. I'm not supposed to sign in front of all these crazy movie actors. I'm not supposed to sit with all these. Push it. If there's only one answer to any question. You can't do that. Says who? That's it.
I believe in the modern world that the only limiting factor in one's life is themselves.
Yes. Love it. Love it.
Dr. Robb, this has been a fantastic conversation. Before we go, I would love for you to tell the audience about your socials, how to contact you, any website resources, anything you want to share. Let's do that.
So if you're listening and not watching, I spell my name with 2 B's. ROBBKELOY.com is the website. Dr. Robb Kelly in any search engine around the world, you'll see me on there, no problems. If you live in America, just for this show, there's a book out there. It's only about my daughter. It's called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. Don't buy it, okay? I have 10 copies here. Send me, or send anybody a message and say, this show is amazing. It's fantastic. I'll sign it. I'll give you the book. I'll pay for the shipping and all that stuff. I've 10 copies here. First of all, do that. And then secondly, I just want to say that if you're a mom or dad out there with a teenager that's struggling, we have a department within my company, you'll find it on the website, that they will talk to you day and night, and it'll never cost you a dime. So worried parents are an asset. Somebody said today, what do you do for a living, Rob? And the answer was, we put families back together again. So if you're in that state of worrying like crazy about your children, call us, man. We'll walk you through that shit. We'll never fucking charge you or sell you shit. I'm telling you now. Boom, baby. Let's do this.
On that note, Dr. Robb, it has been an absolute pleasure. Folks, we'll see you on the next episode.